Hello everyone, this is Nathaniel Boone for CIT 381, the research project. I chose to do Tableau, as you can see from the main screen. And I chose to do Tableau because, one, I work in workforce management, and I've learned recently that Tableau is becoming a desired program, if not outright required, for advanced positions, which I want to get into, especially management positions. So basically, I saw Tableau as an option for this research project and said, hey, I want to learn how to use it. That way I know why there's all the fuss about it in the WFM or workforce management field. And I wanted to be able to use it myself to gain that skill. So that's basically why I did Tableau. Now, what I've learned is there's a lot of things that this thing can do. So let's go ahead and kind of jump into it with a little bit about Tableau, and then I'll go through my little project that I did on cathedral data to get some real hands-on experience. Okay. Oops. Got to find the right file. There we go. There's Tableau. So in Tableau, when you open it, you have the option to do a new whole worksheet or not. And this is what you see if you pop up a new worksheet. You have all the headers for the different options like file, data, worksheet. And then you have the basic layout with what they call data and analytics tabs and dimensions and measures. Then I'll go into more detail with my own research project. So first, let's go ahead and close out of this and go back to my project. So I'm going to go ahead and click on data and look at the data sources. So you get an idea of why this is so important to the workforce management field. It is just so robust in its built-in usability to connect with so many different platforms. Right out of the box, it automatically connects with Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle, as well as other databases that just make it amazing. You can connect to one specifically building the connector. There's other ones in here like Salesforce that is a big key thing for a lot of WFM departments. They use that. So it's really very useful. And you have a lot of different other options that you can do outside of the WFM field, like you can use Google Analytics, Google BigQuery, just a lot of good things there. But the other one that really sparked my interest, that takes a while to get up to speed on, is the ability to do a web data connector. And when you go on there, you can go find out what people have done in the past as far as collections of connections they have put together for people that you can use and then build off of. The issue with that one is sometimes time consuming to actually find out where the data is located versus the website that you use to access the data. So that's the big thing there. So those are data sources which are huge as far as connectivity, which is nice to know. But the other big thing that we really liked is going to be best shown in the graphics that come into play that are so easy to change as far as presentation goes. So it does. Another point about the data sources that I really like is there's really no coding required. It's point and click thing, which is a good plus for a lot of people because not everybody has a coding background. So let's go ahead and go into my actual project. This project, as I said before, is cathedral data. And specifically, I looked at the world's largest cathedrals and accessed this very small database, but was able to use it to perform some really neat things within Tableau. So that's why I'm using it for this presentation. So one of the things that you'll notice here on the left, so you have the data and the analytics tabs, as I mentioned before. Because this data was so straightforward, I didn't have to do a lot of analytics, but there's a lot of options there. As you can see, there's the summarize options with average lines, constant lines. You can do models, reference lines, really great stuff there for analytics for a lot of data to find out what trends and such are going on. But let's go ahead back to the data because I did do some work here in the dimensions. Now you have the dimensions and the measures, and the dimensions are basically options for column rows is the best way I figured to think of them. When you're looking at your data, you'll have your row and your column. This is your columns here. Then measures are your rows, your data rows worth of data. So I actually went in and was able to do something really neat with this original construction column. I was able to actually use different functionality, one that's called a split. And I went ahead and there you go, transform, split, and you can do it. And then you split it and you can do different things with the data to show different portions of the data. And I'll show you more about that later on. Now, what is really nice about Tableau is over here on this right part is there's this Show Me tab that I had open to begin with, and I'll keep open now for probably the rest of my presentation, except to show you the legends that it's hiding. But what is really nice about Tableau is it's a point, it's a click and pull, sort of drag and drop. There you go, drag and drop thing where you drag what you want to be your data in. So like I dragged country in, then I adjusted it, said I want it to be with a color, and then I did it again. And I said, hey, I want to have the detail. And then I use this size option with the sum of approximate area to give me this nice graph by location, because that's based off the latitude and longitude that they have, to show you where the 27 largest cathedrals in the world are located, as well as kind of relative sizes at a glance. And as you can see, most of them are over in Europe, but there's one in West Africa, Ivory Coast, there's one in Brazil, Mexico, and there's one in the United States. And down here at the bottom, it says that there's one that has an unknown geographic location. That is a nice feature that I like, is that it shows you when something doesn't show up when underneath the selected criteria. So here you can have a different list of the countries versus trying to find them on the map. And it gives you a different color for those, especially ones like Portugal, where the color dot actually obliterates or completely covers the actual label. So that's world locations, and that is a very nice functionality of the graphs that is point and click. So here, because I don't always get the best information as far as use out of a graph like that one did with the map, I made a duplicate tab, basically, as far as information goes, but rearranged it differently so that I could see the size. And I ordered it by largest, so the largest would be the darkest, and the lightest would be the smallest. And as you can see, there's again a couple of spots where there is no data, where they're left blank. And this one, where you have the country, where it's at, the name of the cathedral, years of construction, and then, like I said, the size. So that's really cool to be able to do that as well. And really, big thing here was to realize that the Show Me tab is going to know more than I do to start off with. But let's go up to the top for a little bit and talk about some of these things. Okay, so you have the file, which is what you use to obviously make a new file, save it to new folder, revert to a saved file, that sort of thing. Data you enter to a new data source, which I like is you can have multiple data sources at the same time. And that'd be really cool to use in the future. And then you have the worksheets, what you want to show on your worksheets. You do a dashboard for a different type of data. This one really doesn't need a dashboard, but you could use it for a call center, which again is why this is very useful for WFM, because they do a lot of call center management. And you can do different analysis, maps, formatting. Then you can do servers, Windows help. All of this is really nice, but I think the biggest thing that helped me out, just because I didn't have a ton of analysis that I needed to do, was the show me graph, as well as a couple of hints on how to do the split, because that was very useful. Okay, so that was the cathedral size by country. Here's the cathedral size comparison. Basically, I used the map, the packed bubbles option, and it basically takes the size of the cathedral by area and shows it in a proportional bubble. As you can see, there's one right here, which is the United States. There's one cathedral, the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Angels, which at 5,000 feet, proportionally compared to all the other ones, doesn't have the space to show that it's the United States of America. So yeah, that one's really nice there. Again, this one is the use of the approximate area, the country, a couple of different times, using a label for one and the color for the other, and then the name as a text file, as a text label as well. So these boxes here, for as far as the marks options, are really nice to use for developing your presentation. What I really like about this show me over here, if you click on one and then a different one, it automatically arranges the selection of your marks. So like if I went to this one, as you can see, it went just to new. But that isn't really what I want. So I went back to what I did initially. So the thing is about all these things is sometimes you have visuals that are easy to interpret at a glance. And sometimes you have graphs that are easy to interpret at a glance, and sometimes, data that is easy to interpret at a glance, and sometimes data that is not. Here you have a lot of data with dates. So it's not really easy to see what the age is. This is the column here. It says the age. And this is where I used the split quite a bit, was to do the ages. But here's, because this one wasn't very easy for me to understand. Well, okay, the text is easy, but to really get a good visual, besides one line at a time, I decided to do a different comparison. So here we have the age comparison, where it shows you the year, and then the age here is actually a bar graph, which is really nice to actually see how something goes. And as you can tell, the Hagia Sophia from Turkey is the oldest, with being constructed in 537. That's a really old building. I'd actually like to see it in person someday. So I decided that is nice to be able to see the age and the size, but I wanted to do the age and size together, and I decided I wanted to do a graph, a visual together instead of just the text, because I've had the text on that information in multiple locations, because you have the when it was constructed and the size here. But again, the huge list like this is easier to understand in the graph, graphic, and a good graphic is one that you can get a good information from at first glance and then delve in a little bit more to actually get some more information than just the cursory glance will reveal. And that's why I really liked this age and size one. So what's going on here is you have, again, the size button. The size of these bubbles is based off of the area of the cathedral. And then the relative darkness of shade of these blue bubbles is based on how old they are. As you can see, you have a lot of these newer ones are very light blue, but you have some darker ones from the 1300s, 1100, and obviously the darkest again is Turkey at 537. So again, what is really nice about this is when there's something that doesn't show, it shows you the nulls, saying that there are two values in this data set that had no values that we weren't able to include in this. So I really like that, and that'd be a very useful feature for WFM again. So that's my project that I did with cathedral data, and that what I've basically learned is that this is going to be something very useful for me to know and be able to use in the future. And the big hard thing will be to determine how to connect to the data, because a lot of the data that WFM isn't necessarily in a nice, easy to use database. Anyway, thank you so much, and hope you learned something. Bye.